It is the end of the 19th century. Jews now outnumber Muslims and Christians combined in the holy city of Jerusalem. But these are mainly pious Jews, financially dependent on other pious Jews in the diaspora. Modern political Zionism will largely be the work of secular Jews who have moved out of the ghetto, seeking to integrate into the wider society following the emancipation. More than 30 years before Herzl, Moses Hess, who starts out as an associate of Karl Marx, foreshadows the chief ideas of the Zionist movement in his 1862 book, Rome and Jerusalem.
The Jew in exile who denies his nationality will never earn the respect of the nations among whom he dwells. He may become a naturalized citizen, but he will never be able to convince the Gentiles of his total separation from his own nationality.
Hess's insight reflects growing disillusionment with the emancipation. Yehuda Leib Pinsker, a well-to-do physician in Russia, initially believes the walls will slowly come down and the hostility between Russian and Jew will be replaced with mutual respect. The pogroms of 1881 end that dream. In 1882, Pinsker writes Auto-Emancipation, an appeal to his people by a Russian Jew, in which he argues the Jews must build a fatherland of their own.
It is truly the greatest misfortune of our race that we do not constitute a nation, that we are merely Jews. We are a flock scattered over the whole face of the earth, without a shepherd to protect us and gather us together.
2 years later, Pinsker convenes the founding conference of Chivat Zion, or Lovers of Zion, which brings together scores of small Zionist groups. Some, like a society of students from Kharkov, call their group Bilu, an acronym meaning House of Jacob, let us go up. Bilu establishes farming settlements in the land of Israel. But Pinsker, a private man, is unsuited to the role of political leader. It will take the charismatic Theodor Herzl to give Zionism the status of an international movement with access to the corridors of power. Herzl is also a secular Jew, a journalist and playwright. For him, the turning point is the Dreyfus Affair of 1894, when a Jewish captain in the French army is framed and court-martialed for treason. Herzl writes,
"They did not howl, 'Down with Dreyfus,' but 'Down with the Jews.' That's how it was from the very first moment on, and that's how it has remained. Thus, the Dreyfus case has demonstrated an accumulated hatred of the Jews, which we certainly did not expect to find in such profusion in France."
Unaware of the existence of Zionist groups in Eastern Europe, Herzl concludes independently that the Jews must have a state of their own. In 1896, he publishes Der Judenstaat, or The Jewish State. Where Herzl differs from Pinsker and others who came before him is the way he envisions achieving a Jewish state. As historian Ben-Zion Netanyahu writes,
Herzl's unique greatness was not in teaching that the only solution to the Jewish question was a Jewish state, but rather in teaching how to put this idea into practice, and in explaining the only way in which it was possible to put it into practice.
Herzl looks over the history of Jewish settlement in the land of Israel. For centuries, Jews made their way there, established settlements, and even for a time thrived. But inevitably their work crashed on the rocks of persecution and hostile governments. Herzl recognizes that without first acquiring political protection for settlement, efforts at gradual immigration will always lead to the same result. Herzl meets with statesmen and world leaders in the hope of acquiring political guarantees before establishing a Jewish presence in Eretz Yisrael. Herzl's success in speaking with major heads of state has an electric effect on the oppressed masses of Eastern European Jewry. But Herzl also encounters furious opposition. Max Nordau, a famous writer who becomes an ally of Herzl, laments,
"Hitherto, Zionism has found no single enemy in the Christian world. The Zionist idea, as a principle, has found no adversaries but Jewish ones, and has had to defend itself only against Jewish attacks."
To the Jewish religious leadership in Eastern Europe, secular Zionism is an affront. The series of false messiahs have had their effect. It is now felt Jews must not venture to hasten the end, but patiently await divine intervention. Many assimilated Jews in Western Europe throw themselves with equal ferocity against Zionism. To them, Herzl threatens their status with his claim that Jews are a distinct nation deserving a homeland. Assimilated Jews want to be thought of as German or French, albeit of the Mosaic faith. Even the newspaper for which Herzl writes, the Neue Freie Presse, refuses to publish his writings on Zionism. In a press-in speech in 1898, Nordau slams German Jews who are blind to the needs of East European Jews, or Ostjuden as they are called.
A day will come on which Zionism will be as needed by you proud Germans, as by those wretched Ostjuden whom you fear and hate. A day will come on which you too will beg our help and be suppliants for asylum in that land which you now scorn. I warn you of the future.
Herzl even has differences with fellow Zionists. Groups like Givat Zion, which have already struck down roots in Palestine, are certain they can achieve their state piecemeal, almost without being noticed. Herzl says of their efforts,
"They are dragging stone after stone to the building site and assume that as a result a house will be erected. It's folly to construct a building without a plan, and folly for us to construct a house without being assured of the land on which it is built. For without that, the owner of the land will come one day and raze the building or evict us from the house which we constructed for ourselves."
The enormous support Herzl enjoys among the Jewish masses of Eastern Europe helps him overcome his detractors. Even among the Orthodox, Herzl has supporters like Shmuel Mohilever and Yitzhak Reines, who found the religious Zionist Mizrahi movement. They follow in the tradition of Rabbi Tzvi Hirsch Kalischer, who had written in 1836,
"The beginning of the redemption will come through natural causes, by human effort, and by the will of the governments to gather the scattered of Israel into the Holy Land."
In 1897, Herzl organizes the first Zionist Congress. It will become essentially a parliament in exile, directing Zionist affairs up until the creation of the State of Israel. It becomes the stage on which is set the course for the nation's rebirth. Herzl himself is aware of it. As he writes in his diary, "In Basel I created the Jewish state. Were I to say this aloud, I would be greeted by universal laughter. But perhaps 5 years hence, in any case, certainly 50 years hence, everyone will perceive it."